Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Good afternoon and welcome to this installment of the Memorial Cup recap here on WeTV. Of course, the Memorial Cup brought to you by Mastercard. The round robin portion of the tournament is done. Last night, the Erie Otters and the Windsor Spitfires hooked up at the Windsor Family Credit Union Center. On the line was a ticket to the Memorial Cup Championship game a Sunday evening. The hometown team prevailed. The Windsor Spitfires knock off the Ontario Hockey League champions by a 4-2 score. An outstanding hockey game, a tale of two stories really when you think about it. The Spitfires get out to the great start, take advantage of that. Two first period goals carried them through the contest for the most part. They added a second one in a third goal in the second period, I should say. It turned really exciting after that, though. Erie just poured it on, and the Spitfires were able to hang on and secure the 4-2 victory, punching their ticket to the Mastercard Memorial Cup Championship game. There's the scoring summary. What an acquisition Jeremiah Addison has been for the Windsor Spitfires. I knew this young man very well in Saginaw, and I knew he was a special player, and boy, oh boy, a great addition brought in by GM Warren Reichel in the offseason to bring Addison to the Spitfires. He's paying huge dividends. He gets the goal, scoring going last night. He has his second one in the first period. In the second period, Mikhail Sergachev, the Montreal Canadian prospect, gets on the score sheet. That made it 3-0 after 2 periods of play. In the third period, and mind you, folks, it was probably late in the first, certainly throughout the second and the third period. This became the Erie Otters hockey game. They dominated. The Spitfires hung on. And thanks to some great goaltending by DiPietro, timely scoring by Addison, that secured this victory. In the third period, Maksamovic gets the Otters on the score sheet. That made it 3-1 at the point, but the goal that really sealed the deal was the Addison goal, his hat trick, the 5th of the tournament for him, from Natanen and Velarde at 13:31 of the third period. Radish did add his third of the tournament at 17:34 on the power play. Shots on goal, Erie had 35. The Spitfires did not have 9. They had more than that. It was 19, actually. We apologize. But 35-19 were the shots, and that's where I'm telling you was the difference in the game. Power play opportunities, Windsor was 1 for 4, Erie 1 for 3. DiPietro rock solid between the pipes. Timpano wasn't overly busy. There was one goal I thought where Timpano certainly would like to have it back. It was Addison's second goal in the first period. I thought Timpano looked a little soft on that one in allowing that goal. Addison gets the nod as the first star, Velarde with 4 assists, and Sergachev the third star. Obviously, honorable mention goes to Michael DiPietro in the Spitfire net. He was outstanding and really did perhaps deserve a star in last night's victory. So the Spitfires go to the Cup. Our Bill Kelso is an excited man. He took in all the action, and he has this post-game report with some of the comments. Bill?
Last night, 2 questions needed to be answered. Who would play St. John on Friday in the semifinal game, and who would punch their ticket for the game on Sunday in the Memorial Cup Finals? Well, those questions have been answered. The Windsor Spitfires, as a result of the 4-2 victory, will play Sunday.
Well, I'm extremely happy with how our team played tonight, without a doubt. It wasn't easy. You could see Erie was really pushing hard, and our guys had to really sacrifice and dig deep. As you could see, with a minute left, we iced the puck. Our guys had been trapped out there, and they found a way to get the puck out and to preserve the victory, and everybody really played a part into it, from all 6 defensemen to all lines up front. And then at the end of the day, Mikey DiPietro was the reason, once again, that we were able to hold on to that lead and give us an opportunity now to play for such a special, prestigious, the Memorial Cup, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. Make the initial save, and when you have stands oak tree as a stick, swiping pucks away, or Dave Z boxing guys out like that. And same with Sergey and Chatty and all of our decor. So they make things easy, clearing pucks the way they do, and I'm really happy for it.
I honestly, it was great, but I can't do any of it without my lineup. Without, start from the goalie all the way up, start to Natten in the face-off circle, win his face-offs, and Lardo down low. So I'm able to get some goals when those guys are playing. So I'm grateful for them, and I'm thankful for him.
How about Velarde?
Yeah, I thought Windsor came out really strong, and we knew that was going to happen with the energy in the building and the strong starts that they had in their previous 2 games. It was something our coaching staff had mentioned during their second game, that is, we have to make sure that we come out strong, and that's something we did not do. I thought we did a lot of things well tonight, but our start was not what it needed to be. We dug ourselves a hole that was much too big to recover from. After that, I thought we played well.
The Windsor Spitfires will have to wait the next couple of days to find out who their opponent will be in Sunday's final. On Friday, the St. John's Sea Dogs and the Erie Otters will square off to get that right. The winner of that game punches their ticket. For the Memorial Cup recap, this is Bill Kelso.
Thanks a lot, Bill. Outstanding work as always. And as Bill mentioned, the Spitfires will have to wait a couple of days. Friday evening, St. John and the Erie Otters will do battle. We'll preview that game tomorrow, of course, here on the Mastercard Memorial Cup recap show. Our guest analyst tomorrow to help us break down the game and set it up for you will be none other than the all-time assist leader in the Ontario Hockey League, Mr. Bill Bowler, will join us on the set here tomorrow. But we're going to talk a little more about this game for just a moment. The Spitfires, of course, playing extremely well, and maybe the surprise of the tournament. There's 2 surprises in my mind, I think. One being the Spitfires, and the other one being Seattle, of course, who went 0-3 in the round-robin portion of this tournament. Really, again, I do believe Seattle's a very good hockey team, but I think their energy was spent winning that Western Hockey League championship. The 6-game series with Regina and the travel and things like that maybe just took too much out of them for them to really be a strong force in this tournament, the Memorial Cup, where the energy level goes up just that much higher. A lot of scoring in the last couple of games. Let's take a look at some of the numbers from the tournament. These are the cup leaders right now. Jeremiah Addison with his 5 goals. That ties Dylan Strome in the lead there with 5 goals for the tournament. Strome, of course, with 8 points. Taylor Radish is leading all scorers with his 9 points. DeBrincat, 6 points. And Anthony Sorelli, 6 points. So those are the scoring leaders, the top 5 of the Memorial Cup tournament. A lot of Erie players there. Of course, they scored 12 goals in one of the games, so that's contributing a lot to this statistic. As far as goaltending goes, Michael DiPietro continues to lead in that category. You could see Tim Pano of Erie sitting 3rd with a 3.73 goals against average, and Callum Booth. Now, those 2 goalies will go at it tomorrow night, I'm sure, in the semifinal game. They'll be the starters, Booth for St. John's and Timpano for Erie. So you have the number 2 and 3 goaltenders playing in that semifinal game. So those are some of the numbers up to this point in the Memorial Cup tournament. Of course, we don't have a game to preview tonight, being that there's no tiebreaker game. That means everyone's getting a rest, including us to a degree. But throughout the week, we've been able to catch up with a lot of special people that have found their way to the Memorial Cup to want to see some of the great action that always takes place. And for the next few segments here on this edition of the Memorial Cup recap, we're going to talk to some of those special people that have been around the building. We're going to first kick it off with the hardworking general manager of the Windsor Spitfires, who I'm sure is smiling ear to ear today after his team punched their ticket to the Memorial Cup championship game. Here's this special interview with the GM, Warren Reichel. Of course, the Spitfire organization doing an outstanding job of hosting the 99th edition of the Mastercard Memorial Cup, and one of the men that certainly helped put all of this together, the vision, the game plan, no stranger to Memorial Cups and winning them, is the architect of the Windsor Spitfires, the GM, Warren Reichel. And thanks for doing this with us, Warren. And certainly, I want to go back to 2009, 2010, if we can, Warren, where back-to-back championships. And I know know, you and Bob and the rest of the brass, you know, thought, boy, a Memorial Cup in Windsor would be so special. And that was, you know, pretty much the get goal right, I would imagine, after those 2 titles. Taking some of what you learned in those 2 titles, how much of it did you bring into here?
Well, that's exactly. We actually wanted to host it before, before we played in those things. But to see what it was and what it was all about and how prestigious it is, we wanted to bring it to Windsor. So we took us 3 tries, but we got it here is good. But we had a bucket list what we wanted to do when we bought the team, and you know, develop kids on and off the ice, send pros, get first rounders here, get players here. We've done everything. We won championship, hosted events, and this is kind of the only thing we haven't done. So now we've accomplished that, so it's great.
Another check on the bucket list, so to speak, for sure. This was a tough task, though, for you because you knew you were going to get this cup, and you had to build this hockey club and make them competitive, make them Memorial Cup worthy. Talk about putting pressure on yourself, but you obviously, embraced the challenge. And you know what? I don't think anyone can argue after the first couple of games that the Spitfires don't belong here.
Yeah, you know, it was tough. One of the toughest things I've probably done, and you know, it took a year. We kind of slow cooked it. We were behind the 8 ball, you know, I guess, from the beginning with, you know, obviously the sanctions really hurt us. We'd have 2 more first rounders in our lineup. But we kind of slow cooked it last July. We started with Nat, and then we got Nat. We just kind of added 1 guy a month. And with the limited assets we had, we were able to make it happen. So I feel good about it now. We have 10 signed pros on our team, and Mikey and Velarde up next in the draft. So it's good. By no means, the tournament's just getting started, but I think we're going to be fine here when we get our next game too. But yeah, it was extremely tough because I didn't have the picks. I had to get creative a bit with some of the other GMs, and I thank them for that. And I'll remember who they are. They helped me, but it wasn't easy. And as you know, the first round really left a bad taste in my mouth. It was lousy. So I'm proud of the guys. They're in good shape and they're playing good right now.
I guess, when do you take solace and about what you've accomplished, Warren? About the everyday job you're doing to make this hockey club as special as it is, and getting kids signed. I know that's so very important and dear to you. And let's face it, it's your mentoring and Bob's mentoring that really gets that accomplished. At some point, you have to think, boy, to reflect back and say, you know what, I think I did a pretty good job here.
Yeah, you know what you do. Obviously, you keep it to yourself, or people know that when other people say it, it's a lot better, but you don't really want to think about it too much. You got to keep going. Like, we have to have a good team next year too, so we got to keep going with that and keep signing kids and finding hidden gems in the midget draft and maybe some free agents. So it's been good. Handcuffed a bit with some of the stuff that happened, a little bit of bad luck, but all in all, it's been pretty good. We have some good players come through here, and I work. My dad taught me work ethic when I was young, and you got to work. You got to outwork your opponent, not just on the ice, but a lot of these teams have great staffs too, so you got to really work.
With everything that's accomplished, and now, as you mentioned, getting the cup here, that's, again, something that I know you wanted to make happen for our area, Warren. I guess, how do you keep yourself, what's the next challenge, and how tough does this job remain?
As you know, it is tough because, junior hockey goes in cycles, so you got to rebuild. We're losing, we're losing 10 guys to the pros that are signed, so it's extremely difficult. Now you're going to go back and start over again and take your lumps. We'll still be good next year, don't get me wrong. We'll have Mikey and Nett and Stanley and Brown and Velarde. Actually, geez, it's getting better as they keep going. But we'll be pretty good, get a couple imports in here. But, you want to do it right. And if you do, we've got to break it down one at a time, and you get people back in here, some players in return that our fans will be proud of in a couple of years. But, yeah, it sucks, to be at this level in the Memorial Cup, and then next year, like, whoa, it's kind of like going from a roller coaster to a log ride, but you got to keep doing it. You just got to keep doing it.
Love the analogies, that's for sure. Hopefully you can book a few tickets to Regina next spring. We'll wait and see what happens there. But, hey, nobody expects you in 2009 to be there, and you just never know what can happen.
Yeah, 2009 was great. We kind of fast-tracked, from the first year, 18 wins playing. Hall and Ellis never came off the ice, and maturity, Henrique, and leadership of Harry Young, and all the stuff with Mickey Reno was unbelievable. But it's tough to do it, but we'll see what happens, and you can never know.
You personally, Warren, I mean, the challenges of making it as a pro hockey player, everything you went through there, then your career finishes, you get into the scouting circle, then you take the opportunity to buy into the Windsor Spitfires, all of those things. And I can't even imagine it would be, we talk about going to university and getting a degree, but the learning experience for you and everything you've learned, how's that been? And boy, you just got to be really impressed even with yourself as to how well you've learned.
It's tough when, first I remember, here's a great story I'll tell you. I started scouting, I got hurt in 99, my last game was in 99. I started in 01 with Phoenix Coyotes and Wayne Gretzky. Dave Draper was my boss, Cliff Fletcher was the GM, Mike Barnett was in there, and first scouting trip was to Victoriaville. So I flew Toronto, then to Toronto, then Montreal, rented a car. It's not the NHL life, getting off a plane and getting on a private bus, right? So I went to the game, and the phone rings in the morning, it's Dave Draper. He says, how was the game? I said, Dave, you know what, none of these kids are going to play in the NHL. He goes, good, go back tonight. There's 3 first-rounders in the game. So that was I learned a lot right off the hop. So, but you're still learning. This league changes a lot. As you know, Dom, the different rules that change in the summer, and whether it be fighting or, offside, video reviews, so many things, you got to be on top of it. So it's tough. I think a lot of teams are expanding their staffs. I think we got to jump on teams, early. With the pro-like scouting now, every team's pretty good at scouting and keeping their picks. And that's, look at the Western Conference. It's crazy. That's a whole different chapter, right? But it's fun. But you got to keep on it. It changes. You got to chase European players. You got to trust your scouts. It's tough, but you try to get it right 90% of the time.
It all starts with leadership, though, and obviously you and Bob have exhibited tremendous leadership and created the success that's here, Warren. Bob's looking at an NHL job possibly as a head coach. I know a lot of people think, Warren's done a pretty good job in, building hockey teams. Thoughts of that, going to the next level? And if anybody's got the contacts and ties to certainly be considered, it's you.
Well, there's, you think about it, and there's been a couple things going on right now. Obviously, can't disclose here, but there might be a couple options, but it's got to be, for me, it's not like a coach. Management, you don't go right to an NHL general manager, like Mark Hunter went and helped Lou Lamoriello. I'd be interested in something like that if the team's right and I know the people I'm going to work for. But all in all, Bob and I put our life savings in here, and someone's got to manage a team, right? You don't want to, I'm sure I can get an adequate manager in here, but we're used to it. We're used to getting good kids in here. And, I love Windsor, Tecumseh. I live 5 miles from the rink. I drive here when I want. I make my own schedule. You know what I mean? You call me on Sunday mornings, and I'll call you back. But yeah, and if you wanted me to fly to Europe and do pro and junior, whatever, to help a team, get back to the top, it'd have to be significant. To the people I'm working with, plus obviously financial too.
In closing here, Warren, this tournament, this championship, what do you want people to take out of it, and aside from the Windsor Spitfires winning a Memorial Cup, but just the fans and everybody, what do you want them to take out of it, and what I guess kind of legacy do you want to leave after this?
What, the city's been alive for 10 days, and it's going to keep going. The hockey's just really starting. The good stuff's going to start soon, so we're glad we brought it here. And it's all about, obviously, the soldiers, the men and women, the fallen for us, and it's all about that. When even in 09, 10, we were young and let's go in, but now you know the true meaning of it. You see the people here before the game. You see the veterans, 90-year-olds. That's what it's all about. But to get people here in Windsor to spend money in our great city, and me and Bob and the Savages and Brian Schwab, we're big believers in the city. And people came into Windsor, they can't believe how nice it is. Right from downtown, right through the arena here, and all the stuff there is to do, the water, everything. So I'm proud of that. I'm obviously proud of our city, but that's the biggest thing, probably twofold, remembering the fallen soldiers and the meaning of the Memorial Cup, and having everybody in town here from everywhere in North America, the hockey world, enjoying themselves.
Well, you've made it special for a lot of years here already, Warren. Continued success. Thanks for doing this with us.
Anytime,
and you know what?
Cheers.
Hopefully you'll be raising that cup again soon.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right, Warren Reichel, the hardworking GM of the Windsor Spitfires. And thank you to Warren for giving us some time there, and a pretty good conversation with the GM. A very intense man, and he works extremely hard. He knows this game inside out, and he's passionate about what he does for the Windsor Spitfire Hockey Club and a lot of hockey organizations as well. We're going to continue on with our Mastercard Memorial Cup recap show. Again, this special edition, I'll call it, because mostly interviews today. Of course, we know the Windsor Spitfires are going to be in the Memorial Cup final on Sunday, and we have to await their opponent, which will take place Friday night, the semifinal game. So nothing to really preview tonight as far as a game. So we decided to show some of the people that have been attending the Cup, and one of the most charismatic persons, whatever you want to call him, to ever be a part of the Ontario Hockey League. And he still continues to have an influence, I will say, in the league, and has a say, even though he's no longer an owner of the team in the Ontario Hockey League. Sherwood Basson, affectionately called Sherry Basson, has won Memorial Cup championships. His fingerprint or handprint is on this Erie Otter Hockey Club before stepping down as an owner and kind of the operations manager. Sherry drafted a lot of these kids, or helped with the draft. Of course, he groomed Dave Brown, who was an outstanding GM in his own right, to take over the reins of the Erie Otter. He's been here in town taking in the Memorial Cup, and we had a chance to catch up with Mr. Sherwood Basson. Well, as you know, there's always a lot of special people at a Memorial Cup tournament. No difference here in Windsor this year. A lot of great hockey personalities visiting our city, and no stranger to the entire CHL family is this gentleman. He has legendary status, and rightfully so. Mr. Sherry Basson, the former owner of the Erie Otters. He's still part of that Erie Otters family, and you look at this Erie team this year, his print mark is on this team. He brought a lot of these players in before finally taking a much-deserved rest, and thanks for doing this with us, Sherry.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, great to see you here at the rink, and you got to be really proud and excited to see what you see this year with this Erie Otter Hockey Club.
Yeah, I am really, and I'm excited for the players, and this is the goal. And I mean, this is their 4th year in a row with 50 wins. First time ever done in junior hockey. You know, because we all know, you've been covering it for 100 years, that the real issue is pretty simple, is usually you use your best players. You know, when we lost McDavid, they all said, hey, you know, it's going to happen. Those guys are going to the bottom, and you know what I mean? And that, you know, we had a line there of Burakovsky at left wing, Connor McDavid at center, Connor Brown at right wing. Like, that's not bad for junior hockey for all the years you've covered. So, and we lose those guys, and everybody said it was gone, but it's maintained itself. A lot of it's got to do with Brown now, too, and he was with me from the beginning, and that coach. He's a heck of a coach. I mean, you know, people used to tell me about good or bad coaches. I said, how do you define that? And I said, well, my definition is give him a good team. If he screws it up, you know he's a bad coach. So this guy's a phenomenal coach, and he's really developed those guys.
Yeah, you're talking about Coach Knobloch, who I agree with you, Sherry, outstanding coach, and he's really kept this team, you know, going forward. And you know, you lose guys like Connor McDavid. Yeah, you're right. Everybody thinks, okay, the run is over, and they've been able to sustain it.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you know, guys like Stroman. We got DeBrincat. I was lucky enough to find him. We found him, chief scout. We didn't even go to look for him. We were looking at a prospect in northern Michigan. He came on with that Chicago high school team, and I mean, I couldn't believe it what I saw, and asked him if he'd play in the league. He said yes, and just about didn't make it. I thought I'd have to go to a hospital first. But you get a free agent like that, you know, 65 goals, over 50 the other 2 years. I mean, you know, that's luck, but our staff worked hard to get out to these areas and make sure we were in areas where we could see these guys. And so when I look at all these guys, you know, even guys they traded for, the young players they gave up that we were all part of, and I'm excited for them. You know, the blue line, the Radish brothers. I mean, it goes on, and who would have thought, as you said, you keep losing these guys, but we've been finding replacements. But after 4 years, I think it'll be a little bit of a drop-off, and I think a lot of the teams in the league are excited about that.
Well, certainly, yeah. I think Erie's been kind of like the setting the bar for the last 4 years. Yeah. You know, and you go back to everything in your experience, Sherry. I mean, you got this team to the Memorial Cup in 2002. I believe that was in Guelph. You won in Sault Ste. Marie Memorial Cup. I mean, Oshawa. I mean, you know what it takes. And is there that special recipe that gets a team to have a chance to win a Memorial Cup?
Yeah, I think that we've always looked at, when we went out and looked at players and so forth, which of these guys can lead us? which of these guys will understand the leaders and follow. And you sit down and talk about that a long time in advance. You know, when you're getting to McDavid, you have a certain length of time, so you got to bring in certain players. You know, and you know the Radish kid that's on defense has been, you know, all defenseman of the year, everything, overage player of the year. He was a forward his first half of minor midget. Then they moved into defense, and I went to watch him. And by the time half the second year was over, he was running the power play. So he said, "Hey," and so the secret of the draft, though, is it's a good question. I've talked with many people about this. It's not who you get; it's where you get them. Okay. So we knew that he wasn't rated very, very high, but we knew that somehow we can't go past the middle rounds. You know, a kid like Connor Brown, he was 5'6", 129 pounds when we drafted him. So, I mean, you know, and everybody said he was going to school, so we got him in the 13th round. But, you know, those kind of things that, you know, he was there because everybody else on that Marley team had been, you know. So we were lucky, but it was some of the staff that would recognize that, and that, you know, that Dermott, that's now top Leaf prospect, he was hurt all year. And fortunately, we were out at the rinks early. Right. And I saw him, he only played a game and a half, and he got hurt seriously. We wanted to take him early in that, but I'm an old paper guy, and I lost the paper during the draft. So, you know, what I'm saying is that, you know, when you look at certain things like that and who can make these pieces and kind of look, you know, the good players in the league, where they came from at 16 to 19. And the big factor, and you answer your question, is character. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. You want to know the environment they're a product of, and so it's been rewarding for me, and I've had good staff. You know, we never forget that. Guys like you that would have done our broadcast or whatever, our people were good people.
Well, but it starts with leadership, and that's where guys like you breed that winning and train people to be the winners and have that keen sense of finding those players. And I want to go back to Connor McDavid, who obviously is Connor McDavid. I mean, maybe a can't-miss prospect, but I remember you coming to me and you were at an exhibition game and you said, "Dom, this kid, McDavid, I'm telling you, he's going to be the best player in the world." And you're looking at a 15-year-old kid at that time and making that kind of a prediction. How does someone see that?
Well, when you know he's that good, and then you know him as a person. And I got to know the environment he's a product of.
Let's quickly talk about the CHL on a whole, Sherry. I know it's dear to your heart. You were a big part of the growth of this league, and today you look at the Memorial Cup and an event like this. It's now a 10-day event. I remember back in '88 at my first one in Chicoutimi, it was barely 7 days, and you were in and out of there. Obviously, this has grown into not only big business, but also just a big special event for our country. And how important was that? And do you see it going still in that positive direction?
Well, the real issue is this. We are the top development league. That's not to take away from NCAA. I'm not demeaning or anything like that. 55% of the players in the NHL are out of this league. So, you know, this is what I've always told people. Come and see the stars of tomorrow in the NHL play in our league today. You know what I mean? The Stromes and these guys. We know that. We're a development league. The really thing that's really gotten better is the coaching. I mean, we used to know years ago when I came into the league at Confederation, but you know, we thought, hey, you know, we had sized, you're going on a 3-game road trip and stuff like. Now, if you're not real prepared, let me tell you, because they're all well coached, well organized, everybody's got video, everybody's dissecting the teams, and that's where we've really come on and along, and everything. And Dave Branch and his leadership and the equipment, you know, the concussion rules we brought in. We were one of the first to bring this concussion program in. I can go on and on. We have a players first, the mental health program. That's why I'm very, very upset when I hear people talk about the owners don't care about players. That is so far from the truth, it's unbelievable.
No, again, I think it's all leadership, and you know, over the years I've watched guys like you, Brian Kilray, Mr. Branch do their magic, and that's why the OHL, the CHL is what it is.
Yeah.
We're so pleased to have you in Windsor, Sherry. People, it's too bad you didn't get to see this guy work, but if you do see him around the rink, just say thank you to him, because he's part of why we have what we have, and he's part of why the NHL is what it is. So say thank you to this guy. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm good, honest guys like you that are hard working. You're a credit to our league, and it's fun to be with you.
Greatly appreciate it. Sherry Basson, always a very special one, that's for sure. And certainly, indeed, one of my favorite guys. I've been so fortunate in covering this league to have met people like Sherry, got to know them a little bit, and develop even a friendship away from the competition. And he's always been very fair to everyone and up front, and that's what you love about the guy. He doesn't pull any punches. He tells it the way it is, and he's been very successful, so nobody can argue with him. That is for sure. Thanks to Sherry for giving us some time. Of course, one thing you've seen in recent years is former NHL players, former junior hockey players that have went on to the NHL and have come back to the junior ranks to either own a hockey team. You look at the situation in Windsor with Bob Bugner and Warren Reichel. You look at them getting into management, things like that, and that's what Sherry was talking about a little bit. The quality of coaching, the quality of hockey directors for these clubs, former NHL guys that have been through it all, and it's no different in Halifax, where the Mooseheads have a former great, an Ottawa '67 player who won a Memorial Cup, then went on to win a Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens. Was an outstanding player with the 67s. He was at the rink earlier this week. I had a chance to talk to former Montreal Canadian star forward Bobby Smith. One of the OHL greats for sure, taking in the tournament. He's now an owner of a Canadian Hockey League team. Bobby Smith, the former Ottawa '67 great, and welcome to Windsor. I know you've been here because you played with the 67s a few years ago, but your thoughts about everything that's going on here this week right now, Bobby?
Well, it's a terrific tournament. I try and get here. I try and get out to it every year, and always great competition, always great interest to see the teams who haven't seen each other all year, and they just halfway through now. Going to be very exciting, and looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
Let's go back to your days in the OHL if we can. You played for a guy by the name of Brian Kilray. Everybody kind of knows him. He's a pretty special man. I know I love him, that's for sure. But how much did that help you and put you maybe even to where you're at today?
Oh, it helped me a great deal. And I've always said, I showed up with the 67s. I was a kid who played hockey, and 3 years later I was a hockey player. And there's a big difference. And Brian Kilray deserves a lot of credit for that. And really, my passion for junior hockey and the reason why I own a team now is because of my experience in Ottawa. And we won a league championship, played the Memorial Cup. We were 5-5 late in the third period in 1977. Still one of my regrets in my hockey career, but it was a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, you go on to play for the Montreal Canadiens. Here's a hockey hotbed, of course, much like in Toronto. I mean, you're just under that microscope. Talk to me about the jump from, Ottawa's a great hockey city, but going to Montreal.
Well, Montreal is the center of the hockey world, and I had played with the Minnesota North Stars for 5 years before then, and we had a very good team in Minnesota. We were in the finals and the semifinals, but to get to Montreal, it just felt like a different level, and the importance of the team in the city. And the 7 years I was there, we had very good teams. We were in the finals. We won the Stanley Cup one year, and it was a lot of fun and certainly the highlight of my career.
A lot of former players like yourself, Bobby, are coming back to the junior ranks. Bob Bugner, of course, here in Windsor, owning the Windsor Spitfires with Warren Reichel, a couple former NHLers. Why does that happen? Like, what makes you want to come back and operate a hockey team like this?
Well, I think it's we understand junior hockey, realize what it meant to me. I was the first pick in the NHL draft because of what I did with the Ottawa 67s, and we have the opportunity to do help young players now, both with their education and with their ability on the ice. And I say to our general manager Cam Russell many times, and he had an excellent NHL career himself, I said, hey, we've got an opportunity to tell these kids things, and if we don't tell them, who will? And to be able to pass on that experience from guys who had been there, it's very rewarding, and it's rewarding to see guys go on to the NHL, and it's rewarding to see guys go on to university as well.
Just before I let you go, Bobby, of course, you're the owner of the Halifax Mooseheads. Tell us about your team, your organization, and how gratifying it is to be the owner and also in the game of hockey still.
Well, it's a tremendously successful franchise. People in Halifax love our team. We won the Memorial Cup 4 years ago. We've sent a lot of guys to the NHL just recently, a handful of top 10 NHL picks. We'll have another one this year. And so it's been a lot of fun. The people appreciate major junior hockey, and I've really enjoyed it.
Certainly appreciate everything you've done and continue to do. Congratulations, and good luck in the future.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
Another special man, and I could remember watching Bobby Smith in his OHL days, just a dominant center iceman, and certainly a strong character type player, and great to see that he's contributing to the success of the CHL. And again, that's what we were talking about, how many players have come back to be a part of this great league, the Canadian Hockey League. I do have to correct myself as well. I had mentioned that Bobby won a Memorial Cup. It was the J. Ross Robertson Cup that he did indeed win with the Ottawa 67s, lost in the Memorial Cup final. So I do apologize for that. Our last stop here on this special edition of the Mastercard Memorial Cup recap show. We've talked about that this is the 99th edition of the Memorial Cup. 99 years teams have been playing for this trophy. That's an incredible stat in itself. And back in the early days of hockey, when all the legendary players of the earlier day that put the foundation in place for today's hockey players in the game of hockey were battling it out, there was a lot of special people. And one of those former players, his story is very well told in a movie, also with the Detroit Red Wings. He was part of a great run there in the 50s. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Ted Lindsay, who we caught up with earlier on.
Well, I was there once myself, and we won the championship. So long story short, I was at St. Mike's. Oshawa beat us out. And so then tail end of the Second World War, and there were a lot of military replacements. So they picked out 4 guys from St. Mike's. Gus Morton, Dave Bauer, who was just a student at that time, who became Father Dave Bauer. And I believe he won the gold with Canada, I believe. He was a priest before he ever left St. Michael's anyway. But anyways, I was lucky enough to come from Kirkland Lake to play in St. Mike's, and then lucky again next fall to make the Red Wings.
Was St. Mike's the powerhouse back then?
No. They were good hockey players, though. Father Malin was a wonderful man there. A good Brazilian priest.
How big was the Memorial Cup back then? How important was it?
Well, to the guys who were playing, it was just as big as what it is to these guys tonight. Anytime you're playing the greatest game in the world, you take great pride in it, and you try to represent it.
Who were some of the other players on your team that year? Key notables.
Well, I mentioned Father Bauer. Johnny Marlowe was a goaltender from Quebec City, but never matured in anything. The other one was Gus Morton, and I grew up playing for Holy Name. Juveniles in Kirkland Lake, won the Ontario Championship. So those are the things I remember. One of the things that I do remember about that, playing in juvenile, I ended up playing a series for the championship in St. Catharines against Ted Kennedy and Don Gallagher. Ted was still an amateur like I was. And we became good rivals, I guess you would call it.
Wasn't friendly though, was it?
No, well, it's not supposed to be when you play hockey.
Okay.
There were no friends there.
Okay, good stuff. What did it mean to win the Memorial Cup?
Well, anytime you play the greatest game in the world, you want to be the best at it. And fortunately for us, we were the best at it that year, but that was a team effort. No one individual does that.
Has it changed today? Anything? Or does it still take...
Hockey's a lot different today. Hockey, shoot it in, shoot it out, shoot it in, shoot it out. You don't see the great centermen like Sil Apps of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Alex Delvecchio of the Detroit Red Wings. But people seem to like the game of hockey, shooting it in and shooting it out. They don't argue with success.
What a special man, 91 years young, Ted Lindsay, and boy, could he tell some stories, and what a career, what a life he's had. Of course, his story was very well depicted in a movie entitled Net Worth. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It's the beginning of they called it the Hockey Association, which is the union today, and it was Ted Lindsay that went through all this suffering to try to get that thing off the ground. A great movie called Net Worth. featuring Ted Lindsay. And thank you to Mr. Lindsay for coming to visit us and certainly giving us some time. That's pretty much going to do it for this special edition of the Mastercard Memorial Cup Recap. Before I let you go, I want to remind you what the schedule is for the next couple of days as we enter into the final weekend of this wonderful tournament. The semifinal game, Friday, May 26th, tomorrow night, St. John will take on Erie. As you can see, the winner of that Friday semifinal will play the Windsor Spitfires for the Memorial Cup on Sunday, May 28th. The drop of the puck will be at 7 p.m. for both of those games. And don't forget on Saturday, the middle date there, the CHL alumni game. That'll take place. A lot of former greats, a lot of former hockey players coming into town to take part in that very special game. Should be a lot of fun, and certainly if you're an autograph seeker, I'm sure you'll be able to get some pretty good autographs and pictures on that day at the CHL alumni game. Again, don't forget, we'll be back here tomorrow afternoon, as always, at 3 p.m. We'll break down that semifinal game for you between St. John and Erie. We'll get you set up for it. We'll also have another special feature interview, and I'll have a very special guest analyst with me tomorrow. I'm very excited to announce that Bill Bowler, the outstanding former Spitfire and now member of the Spitfire Brass, will be joining me in the studio to help me out with tomorrow's show. So until then, this is Dominic Papa wishing you a great day. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll talk to you all again very soon.